So for the sake of the recording, hello everyone. My name is Stacy Nell. This is a commission meeting of the Kansas African American Affairs Commission. At start time at 1:30, we do not have quorum. However, because we have a special guest who is doing a presentation on the travel compensation procedures for the commission, we're going to continue because Dawn has graciously offered up her time, and so I want to be respectful of the fact that she's giving us her time, and so she can do the presentation. Because this is being recorded, people who are absent can view it later. Hello, Dawn. Thank you so much for attending. And yeah, we'll just go ahead and go. If or when Dr. Davis shows up, we could probably at that point, Mark, start an official meeting. But since we don't have quorum, we're not in an official meeting right now. Okay, Dawn.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much, commissioners, for allowing me time to present to you. I'm looking forward to sharing a bit more information about our travel reimbursement processes and how that applies to our commissioners, making sure that that is clear and accessible. And you know that I, as the Director of Finance and Office Management, am here to advise Stacy and offer assistance to her, and not only her, but to you as the commission. So I do have a very brief presentation that I would like to go ahead and share. All right. You all see that okay? Wonderful. So these are really just the guidance and on rules and best practices for Governor's Office External Commission travel. I say rules and best practices because there are absolutely rules and state statutes that pertain to this, but also just sort of some best practices that we like to implement so we can ensure that I'm providing the needed support. So what we talk about travel guidelines really for a lot of the commission, that will primarily be post-trip for you. I think you all very rarely travel. On occasion, you have a reason to attend an event, whether it be Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration, or maybe if there is ever a town hall meeting in person. So a lot of this is really post-travel. So we want to make sure that we're documenting all sort of final expense reports and files. Specifically for the commissioner travel, the commission is in existence due to Kansas Annotated Statutes, or KSA Chapter 74, Article 99. I have pulled out a couple references to show where we're sort of getting these guiding practices and rules from. So under KSA 74-9903, it says members of the advisory commission attending meetings of such commission or events shall be paid amounts provided in subsection E of KSA 75-3223 and amendments thereto. Caveat, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just reading what I see as best as I know. So we go to that KSA 75-3223, and this is a statute that outlines how we look at reimbursing people who are board commissioners and members of other advisory committees. As we saw in the prior statute, it is subsections E. So E says generally allows for the per diem and reimbursements found in subsections B through D above when specifically referenced in other statutes. So for our purposes, we just completely ignore A. That is not applicable. B allows for subsistence, but varies depending whether or not the member is also a legislator. C allows for mileage to and from the board or commission meetings. I would also say that this generally extends to any sort of formal official events, which is, I guess, better covered by D, allows for reimbursement of other necessary expenses in performing statutory duties. To put it in sort of more state employee speak, looking at these more specifically, B, that's subsistence. Subsistence is what we allow for all charges for meals and lodging, all fees and tips to hotel porters, maids, etc. I will note meal charges only apply when a trip is multiple days or a specific situation or two that is set forth in the employee travel handbook. So I've sort of discussed this prior with Stacy. By and large, I don't think any of our commissioners, not only the African American Affairs Commission, but a lot of our other external divisions, very rarely have multi-day trips. You're coming into Topeka for an event. You're going to a town hall in Wichita. So by and large, most of your reimbursements would not have any meal expenses listed. Section C, it allows for mileage to and from the meeting or the event. Our current mileage rate is 67 cents per mile. That changes, I believe, a couple times a year. We get updates from our Department of Administration. This is calculated from your official domicile or your residence. Also allows for reimbursement of other necessary expenses in performing statutory duties. So if your travel necessitates you traveling on the toll portion of the Kansas highway, or if, let's say, you come to the State House and our parking garage is closed for some reason, so you have to park in a garage where there's a parking charge, those are some of those other expenses that would be allowed for reimbursement. And then E is just sort of that statute that is the reference of here are the sections above that apply. The documentation and reimbursement process. So the executive director communicates with me as the director of finance and office management regarding any and all invites and attendance requests made to you as the commissioners. So Stacy has already briefed me on some of the upcoming events. In January, we have the Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration, as well as Black Legislative Advocacy Day. And so knowing that those are upcoming and that there may be some questions or engagement on travel for those events, it's on my list of things to reach out and discuss with her further as those dates get closer. And just like I explained, it helps me be able to advise on those travel guidelines and requirements. It also enables me to follow up after that event to make sure that we are doing sort of that wraparound before and after touch base. If necessary, at the direction of the executive director, the commissioners can complete an expense report form. So this is definitely something where I'm always happy to work with Stacy directly and with you as the commissioners directly. I will always work to consult with her. She is the director, will have the guidance for me as to here is this official event they've been asked to attend, whether it's an in-person commission meeting, the Black Legislative Advocacy Day, so that at the direction of the executive director is not that she gets to choose whether or not you're reimbursed, but I'm merely being advised by her on the existence of those events. Any supporting documentation requirements are the same as we use for state employees. I will show you in just a minute the document that we use as sort of that reference guide. In our case, this includes review and signature by Governor's Chief of Staff. So any travel reimbursement before I can process that and expend funds out of any of the African American Affairs Commission budget lines, that has to have Chief of Staff Will Lawrence's signature on it. And that is the same as for any employee traveling in our office, whether it's me or Stacy or Rhonda, Will's assistant. I am always available for consultation and guidance. I have a lot of experience with public administration and all of the rules and nuances. I may not always have the answer right away. I will say, great question. I want to find out for you and with you. I'm always here to support Stacy and you as the commission. Some of the forms that we have is the expense report form. It is official state form. It's the DA 121. We document your mileage. I like to tell people when we are looking at a travel reimbursement, we're telling a story. Is why did you go? How did you get there? How did you get back home? As we talk about travel reimbursements, I think it's important to remember just because you or I may be able to forget about a travel reimbursement because $40 or so of wear and tear on my car and the $3 of tolls, at the end of the day, that's not necessarily, going to make or break my personal budget, but as a best practice to consider how this impacts a commission's budget, a state agency's budget long-term. If we go years without commissioners submitting for reimbursement, and then we suddenly have a lot of commissioners submitting, rightfully so, for reimbursement, we want to figure out what that looks like. And so we're telling this story. So we're just going to get a map showing where you traveled from so we can get that mileage right, and documentation of any additional expenses. Again, that's a toll calculation, a parking voucher. I would like to preface all of this again with I am here to help. I am here to be the guiding hand throughout all of this, and I'm always happy to help document some of this outright myself. Here are some of the travel resources. So I will make sure to share this with Stacy so she can share out with you. I'm always happy, again, if you feel like you have a question about how the form works, reach out to me directly. I'm here to help. So within the governor's office, we have our travel approval form. That is more for Stacy and when she is traveling beforehand, or if there might be a special event that she wants to proactively work with Will, Chief of Staff Will Lawrence, or someone else to ensure that if, hey, my commissioners are going to attend a conference, it's overnight. What does that look like for our budgetary and allowance? We have the meals and incidentals worksheet. Again, will most likely never apply to the commissioners, but I like to mention it so you know it's out there. The most important resources are the travel handbook. This is for the Department of Administration. It is our state employee travel handbook. Again, you are not technically state employees. However, it is the guiding document we use when we're looking at all of these travel determinations. That is housed within the Employee Travel Center. And then the link to that form, that DA 121. That is out there on the Department of Administration website. Again, I have that downloaded as an Excel file, and I'm always happy to share that directly with Stacy to share with you all. So now that we've gone through that, I always like to say that I like to not only have reading materials, but I learn well by example. So what I've done is I've put together a couple examples for you. So in this case, this is a expense worksheet I filled out. I pretended that I've gone to a commission meeting. So you can really sort of see what this looks like and how we use this form. So up top, we have spaces for all of our personal information. This is not my home address. Don't worry, I wanted to use something that was not anyone's home identifying information. This is actually the Kansas City Renaissance Festival location in Bonner Springs. So this is my home address. That domicile where I'm traveling to and from is, I put over here my home address. My travel period is 1 day, December 5th. I came down here and said my travel purpose or description is I'm attending a commission meeting. My destination is, it's the Kansas State House, Topeka, Kansas. I am, again, always happy to work with you. If it is a specific hotel where a conference is being held in Wichita, we prefer to have a street address, things like that. Again, I'm always happy to help collect and document some of this information. So you can see over here, I put that the 5th of December was my travel date. I left my house at 6:45 a.m. and it was 48 miles from my house to Topeka. I plugged my mileage in there. This is only a single day trip. I will not get any meals, so I just left that blank. Over here, I put that I had a toll. I traveled on the Kansas Turnpike. The shortest route for me to travel was the Turnpike, so there was no way I could avoid the toll. So I put that in there. I'm going to travel to a meeting. I then have a second line. So I'm documenting the date twice, but it's important because I want to show that I left that meeting. I didn't just stay in Topeka. I left that meeting. I drove back home to my fake home in Bonner Springs. Again, it's 48 miles. And again, I had the same toll. This form is set up to auto-calculate everything. I'm great at math. A lot of times if I have to do it manually, writing it down, I forget to get all the cells. So this is great because the form does all of the work for us. So down here, it calculated the mileage. It has the current mileage rate. So it has my mileage total. It captured my tolls. So over here, it shows that I am due a reimbursement for $69.80. We have some checks and balances in this form to make sure that things are adding correctly. So that matches this amount up here. At the bottom of the form, again, we should be able to tell by the dates and the times on my form, but I always like to add some detail just to make sure I'm being thorough. I'm telling this story well. So this was a single day trip between business hours. It does not qualify me for a meal reimbursement. So just in case. When you send this to me, you would sign this in the employee signature space, knowing you're not an employee. The agency approval, this is where Stacy would sign, confirming, yes, this all looks accurate. This was official commission business. And then she'll work with me to get this to Will to get Will's signature on here. And then this is what I send to accounting for them to process. To document that mileage, we often rely on Google Maps. We live in a day and age of amazing technology. And so I just went into Google Maps, plugged in directions, and it tells me that, and I printed this out, and it tells me that I drove one way is 47.4 miles. In this case, we want to make sure you're being reimbursed for everything that you've incurred. So we always round up to the next mile. This really, if 48 miles versus, we can't reimburse partial miles. It really is a couple cents difference. So I will submit this with that travel reimbursement form to ensure that if for some reason you're trying to claim, or I'm trying to claim 1,500 miles round trip because I'm actually trying to slip in some mileage because I'm going to go see the Chiefs somewhere else. We use this map again to tell the story of confirming that this is the mileage, this is the quickest route. We do not require toll receipts, especially now that the Kansas Turnpike is cashless. And what we'll often do is I will work with you to say, do you have a K tag or do you not have a K tag? And then I'm always happy to go on and I go to their website and I can help you calculate what that is. Oh, my sizing is a bit off. I personally have a K tag. I don't remember the last time I looked at each bill specifically, so I can't tell you what the exact mileage is between, here and let's say Emporia, but that's why we have the K tag website. And so you can see here, again, it's going to show on the map. It's a little bit less clear, but my point A was the farthest east exit, which is if I'm coming from Bonner Springs. I got off at point B, which is that just after the split in Topeka, if you head toward downtown. So with my K tag, it is 274 one way. So that is where I got that 274 per trip total. And so again, I will just send this in. If this is something that you're not used to, or you don't have an easy PDF, print to PDF on your machine, I am always happy to go in and get this printed out and to work with you so we can document this. I want to make this easy, fast, and accessible for you. So now with these documents, I have, going back to our form, I have everything I need to prove that 48 miles one way is the correct mileage rate, or correct mileage amount for reimbursement, and that my toll is at 274. I will take all these, and this is what we submit to accounting. This is pretty much what that practice looks like. Again, there are very rarely situations where we're paying for anything other than that mileage and toll. If there is ever a unique situation that we think is going to arise, Stacy knows, I want you all to know, please reach out proactively. We'll work to make sure that we are figuring out what the best option is, the best use of the commission's funds, making sure it's the best use of your time and your personal commitment to the commission. We always want to make sure that you feel empowered beforehand with whatever information relating to travel that you need. And the only other thing I wanted to briefly show you is the websites. So this is again just the KTA website. This is the State Employee Travel Center. So I will send around a PDF version of the State Employee Travel Handbook, but I want you to please know that it is online. And I'll make sure to send that link as well. So when we talk about where does it talk about how do we calculate mileage from what place to what place, that is all here within this Employee Travel Expense Reimbursement Handbook. So in conclusion, I'll make sure Stacy has PDF versions as well as links to any websites. That way it is easy for her to access and to share out to you all. I think that concludes what I have for my presentation. I'm happy if there are any questions or you need clarification on something, I am here to answer them.
Hey, Dawn, this is Mark. Thank you for your presentation. I did notice that you had an NA in one of those columns, and I was wondering, do we always have to, can we always just skip or leave something blank, or are there places where we have to say NA, not applicable?
Great question. That NA is not required. You are more than welcome to leave it blank. For me, I am a very precise detail person, and I feel very strongly that we care properly for our employees and our commissioners. And so for fields where I do more commonly see some of those expenses, that is just a visual way for me to really be intentional and think about that I'm not missing anything. But from your perspective and what we'd ask of you, you only need to fill out places where you have a reimbursable expense. So that mileage amount, that toll. Great question.
Thank you.
I have a question. This is Director Nell. Is there a distance below which one is not able to qualify for reimbursement? For example, I know that there's a commissioner who lives in Topeka, but the MLK event is in Topeka. So is it the same? Like, because I know I can't if it's under 30 miles or something like that.
Another great question. Yes. So usually, and I will pull the language from the handbook to share out via email later. But yes, if the event is in the same place as your official station or domicile, no, you do not get reimbursement. So I've attended a state hosted conference here in Topeka. I live in Topeka. Just because it's 3 blocks farther from the state house, I don't get to claim mileage for those 3 blocks.
Any other questions? Okay. Dawn, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming and explaining that. And now we've got it documented so it can live forever. But I think it's very straightforward. I do want to reference something she talked about, since this is going to be on the internet. This question of why doesn't the state pay for meals? The state pays for meals for, as we talked about, if the trip is longer than 3 hours on both ends over the normal business day.
I believe, let me pull that travel handbook up. But yes, so by and large, if a trip is just what we refer to as a single day trip, so by and large, it happens within business hours, there are no meal reimbursements. There are a couple rare occasions where that might be different. So let me pull up the wording.
I mean, I was thinking of examples where it pertains specifically to this commission. I can think of very few trips that I have taken that get that long. But perhaps if I'm driving from
Yes.
Topeka to Nicodemus, that's where it starts to, just the drive alone is going to take longer than what is required. And so if I'm going to Nicodemus, it's very possible that I'm spending the night in Hayes, right? Because it's honestly, I've done that trip in one day and it's horrible because it's like 12 hours of driving. So that would be a situation. If there were ever to be a commissioner who lived in Liberal, who was coming into Topeka for an event, that would be a situation where safety would say, hey, get a hotel in Topeka. And that would be a situation where the travel would necessitate taking longer than just a day. Even if the event was only one day, if you're traveling to Nicodemus or traveling from Liberal. But with the current makeup of the commission, even Wichita to Topeka to Lawrence, like nothing's really more than 3 hours apart from each other.
Correct.
And I have never asked anyone to travel. Really, if you live in Topeka and this is happening, please come, but no one else is required to show up. So
Yes, so I have found the official wording, and that meals are not usually allowed or able to be reimbursed for a single day trip. There are 3 sort of different criteria for that. Namely, the one that applies to our commissioners is that the employee commissioner is required to travel on official state business, and the workday, including travel time, is extended 3 hours or more beyond the employee's regularly scheduled workday. So let's say even if it was here in Topeka and you had an all-day event where the commissioners were expected to be there bright and early at 8 a.m. and through the event ending at 6 p.m., even at that point, a commissioner who might live in Wichita, because of those 2.5-hour drive times on each, that is going to extend outside that workday and would be a situation where there is a partial meal reimbursement that would then be allowed. Or yes, if you just had a commissioner who lived out in Liberal, was merely traveling to Topeka for a meeting and then traveling back home, it's 4.5 hours from the western part of our state. So yes, there are absolutely a few
Liberal's
places
like
where
6. I've driven to Liberal.
Okay.
It's way out there.
Okay. So there are absolutely some of those situations where the way that the travel handbook is written, it covers those to ensure that they are not shorted in any way, and we can be reasonable about the travel that they have to undertake due to their location.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Don. Again, thank you so much. It's I know I had emailed out this information twice, but sometimes reading information, it's easier just to have someone come in and explain and show the form and say this is what it means and this is how it goes. And this is, Don has been extremely helpful in gathering this information for us. So thank you so much for taking the time today.
My honor. Thank you so much for your work, and Commission, thank you for your work. And I will leave you all to it, and I will get to the rest of the work I have for the day.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Okay, well, I did note that Commissioner Davis joined us at 1:51. So if you wanted to officially call a meeting, we could probably move forward.
Yes, I'd like to call the meeting officially to order and take roll. Commissioner Westbrook.
Present.
Commissioner Davis.
Here.
Commissioner New.
Present.
Great. I do not have an opening statement. We can go to the executive director's report.
I don't have a report except to say that I have finally figured out the technical difficulties to get the bylaws posted to the website.
Oh.
I was having difficulty doing that for various reasons and finally called in tech support and got it up to the website. So the bylaws are on the website. The only new business was to have Dawn come and go over travel procedures. And the only other new business that's on the agenda is to consider what is our focus coming into the new year. We're still missing some people. And quite frankly, we still have an appointee who's AWOL. And I even today was talking with the governor's office. Honestly, I'm probably going to just have to drive to her office and see if she's okay. So, but what is the focus for the new year? Do you wish to have, and this is me asking, because this is not something that I'm going to take the lead on. Do you wish to have a legislative agenda? Do you wish to do something more community focused? How does this commission see this commission functioning into the future?
This is the chair. One of my concerns would be that during the legislative session, for example, I don't think we could meet enough or would be willing to meet enough. Once a month is just not enough to handle a lot of what's going on in the legislative session. I just wanted to throw that out there because I know at one point we were thinking that we might be more engaged in a legislative process, but that would require a lot more meetings. And I just wanted to make sure that was top of mind at the beginning of this conversation. But the floor is open. But not all at once. Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Thanks, Commissioner Davis. I was trying to find that button to raise the hand, and I think I found it here. We came up with, I think we prioritized at the strategic planning session certain areas that we wanted to work on. And I was looking through my notes here very quickly, and I'm not going to be able to pull it up on this computer in front of me right now. But did we, or are you aware, did we have I thought we had 3 or 4 top areas of concern that we were important to the largest numbers of us. I'd like to see us, focus on maybe 2 things. I'm a firm believer in setting easy, attainable goals. Something that we could do well and make an impact and get our name out there, just for legislative purposes, but in the community. So folks will know, oh, yeah, that's the organization that's working this year on, I'm gonna just make up one. Um, you know, voter registration, at DMV or the Juvenile Justice Initiative, bill reform, something visible that is a hot button topic for a lot of folks. I mean, and we may have already done the work, and I don't see the executive director trying to find it, but
This is the executive director. So from the strategic plan that we did where we met in town, unfortunately, I would almost much of what we came up with in our strategic plan has proven to be moot. As per the audit, a lot of the things that we decided on just can't fly. The things that we came up with, the ideas we came up with, the how we were supposed to run, just it, And so this is even part of the reason why I've been working very hard to try to right this ship. If I'm going to be, if there's going to be an audit, I'm going to take lemons and make lemonade out of it. So I would like to sort of start fresh. To the point, if you have voter registration or whatever it is that you would like to focus on, keeping in mind that with the bylaws that we just wrote, one of the things that were in it is that the commissioners quarterly would have, for lack of a better word, a report of the activities that they did in their own community pertaining to fill in the blank. It doesn't have to be anything that I would necessitate or anyone would dictate to say this is what you should do. So we could either let everyone do whatever they want to do or move together as a commission in one area. And then that would allow for this opportunity to have commissioners report it quarterly. For topic A, I did this or had this or attended this meeting. It's not even that the commissioner has to originate something. I participated in this event or whatever that may be. And then as the executive director, we can figure that out, right? Like if we're fundamentally altering the way that the commission operates or potentially might operate, we could figure out what is that I do. If the commission decides that the commission wants to undertake a project pertaining to houselessness, I'm just randomly pulling something that as far as I know has not come across our scan yet. So I'm trying to pull something that's out of the air. If the commission wanted to have something to say about houselessness, then perhaps the commission can come up with something. And if it was a program or if the way I read the statute as per the audit is that once you guys come up with an idea, then I have to figure out, it should be me who figures out how to implement it. Like, what does this have to look like? I wish there was more commissioners here to take part in this conversation, because I think this is a real opportunity for the commission to clarify, what does this commission want to do legislatively. To speak frankly, last session when we did have a legislative agenda and we gathered information, we voted, we went through all this, what the legislative agenda should be. Everything that I was either advocating for or advocating against was dead by turnaround. I don't see that situation changing in this legislative session. So a purely legislative agenda will take up approximately 45 days of the year. So what do you guys want to do with the rest of the time?
Yes, Commissioner Davis, are there any hot issues from last year's legislative agenda that were carried over to 2025? Any that you can think of off the top of your head? Now, in particular, ones we have a good chance of influencing.
Voting may be the only one that potentially we would have even a shot of influencing. The current, choosing my words so carefully, the current legislative makeup is one where if one is not in agreement with the supermajority, I'm not sure there's not much room for true influence. However, there is room for getting one's ideas on the record. I'm not sure. I don't know how much influence is available.
This is the chair again. Some more framing that I'm thinking about. I think we can be as separate as fingers, but together as a fist. I think, as the executive director pointed out, we could have our own pursuits as commissioners. In fact, that's preferable. For individual commissioners to be more active, to be the point of contact, and to be more engaged with their clientele. But if I had my druthers, in addition to that, I would love for us to agree on one or two issues that we would want to push for that time outside the legislative session. I hope that makes sense. Oh, one other thing, the chair again. One of the things that will influence what I'm going to pursue will have a lot to do with who's already engaged on that particular subject. For example, one of the issues that was really important to me had to do with something that Commissioner Davis mentioned, juvenile justice, and the fact that we charge children for their own incarceration. And when they don't pay, they're vulnerable to for-profit legal firms who pursue them like bounty hunters for the payment behind their incarceration. The ACLU of Kansas and Appleseed are at the forefront of that movement. And I trust those two groups with that. So if someone is already working on a particular topic, I'm likely to shy away from that one and find something where no one or fewer people are working on it to elevate it. Those are just a couple of things I wanted to share. Floor is open. Do we have any thoughts from you, Dr. New, or, oh, yes, Dr. Davis?
One thing that we're trying to do locally in Salina is increase the percentage of minority business persons who do work but are not licensed, in particular in the home building contracting area, because they can't bid on government contracts in particular because they're not licensed. I've spoken to one gentleman who says he's taken the exam 4 times or 3 times. And whereas other people get questioned for 15, 20 minutes, he's questioned for 60 minutes. I said, well, you start the next application because you're not going to walk in there by yourself and stuff. But, it's taken those businesses up to the next level. I suggested that our local NACP group, contact the Black entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills because it seemed to be a very organized group of folks. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'm sure we can get some help getting started from them. But we have business people, but they're not in the Chamber of Commerce. They're not licensed, they're not bonded. I mean, just that whole different set of it's a different level of business that we need to ascribe to, and folks just need help. I mean, I'm sure it's daunting for some of them to make that leap. And if there's funding to help, try and get Chamber of Commerce to earmark money for it. One other thing we had mentioned a couple of years ago, it's about just kind of finding out who all of our constituents are. I don't want to call it a calling tree but if we wanted to get the word out, you know, is there one button our executive director could push that would get it to organizations and people, and those organizations would then send it to their people? I think we had thought about it or may have started it, but it would be nice to, if we have let's say if we had a monthly, I don't even call it a newsletter, but a monthly blog sheet, that we could push a button and send out. I don't know how many thousands of people it's going to end up being, but if folks don't know who we are, it's probably our fault because we're not reaching out to letting them know we exist. But we got to find out who they are. You just can't Google, give me a list of all the Black folks in Kansas. Doesn't work that way. And hope that wasn't a politically insensitive statement, but I think everyone here knows what I mean. It's going to take some work to find out how do we disseminate our information and keep it current.
This is the chair. I think those are fantastic ideas. I attended an event in Lawrence Wednesday that was sponsored by MasterCard, and they have a new program called Strive. And the intent of this was to create an ecosystem where Black entrepreneurs could thrive. And there were several panels, and I remember sitting there listening to each of the panels thinking how valuable this information would have been for me when I was running the African American Museum. They have organizations who specialize in loans to nonprofits, to Black-owned organizations. I would love to see this organization be a part of helping more minority business people, more minority entrepreneurs develop their businesses. So thank you for bringing that up. And you also made me think of something else. We have Dr. New with us, and one of the things that I'm most concerned about, and this would be something that I would want to engage, as my individual concern, the fact that there's an attack on public schools through vouchers. And all that means is siphoning money away from public schools that are already struggling and need more funding, and siphoning that money off and sending it into private institutions. And I want to say this real quick. The resistance to integration led to the formation of a lot of private schools, particularly private faith-based schools. That's really concerning to me as a product of public schools. I think we're going to have to play a lot of defense on that particular role, but that's where I'm going to be lining up, for my own personal crusade. So thank you, Commissioner Davis, for those thoughts. Any other thoughts from any of our other commissioners? Hearing none. Executive Director Nell, do you have anything else on your agenda for today?
Nope, that was it. The Travel Commission, and then to ask the commission what you guys wanted to do moving forward, coming into the next year.
Well, I'll say this. I appreciate you bringing Dawn to the meeting today. I think that's going to make things a lot clearer for us moving forward. And also thank you for taking the lead on our bylaws work. You put in a lot of time, you put in overtime. And this organization now is on firmer ground than it has ever been on. And I would attribute that growth, that progress to your leadership. So thank you for that from the chair.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I take very seriously this notion, like I've said throughout the bylaws conversation, is that currently everyone is very hung up on this governor, this executive director, and this group of commissioners. However, if this organization is going to last into the future, we have to figure out how is it going to look when there's a different governor and a different executive director and a different group of commissioners, and to try to set us up to work so that we can function well under that framework, not with the current focus. Still, so it's funny, you talk differently when you know something's going to sit on the internet for a long time. The current focus of everyone concerning this commission. To that end, I will continue. I think I will continue to try to push the commission into what does the commission want to do. I think the way that this has operated for years is that it's been driven by the personality of the executive director. However, and I inherited this particular wheel. The wheel is now that the executive director is not serving at the pleasure of the governor, but at the whim of the governor. And we are going to get a new governor in 2 years, which means that I will probably most likely be gone 3 weeks after that. So that's why I'm working very hard to get this commission set up. Honestly, I would like us to move away from things that are so overtly political, because then if we are viewed as overtly political, then we are attacked from the opposite political side. At some point, there will be a Republican governor, there will be a Republican executive director, and there will be a Republican balance to this commission. And if the wheel is set that, okay, well, then the commission has to just pick up whatever partisan politics is going on at the moment, then the commission will swing to the Republican side. And then the Democrats will be like, well, they're too Republican. Just like if we swing to the Democrat side, the Republicans will be like, well, they're too Democrat. So if you're asking me personally, I would love the commission to figure out how to actually serve the community, as opposed to serve I was going to say a political agenda. However, so many issues that pertain to the African American community are viewed as political. I know for a fact, if I talk, for example, about voting rights, which there will be bills coming dealing with voting rights, access to voting. I imagine the 3-day grace period. I imagine external ballot drop boxes are things are going to be coming through. And to my mind, the issue of access to the ballot box has been crucial to the African American community since jump. So that is something that, to my mind, is just African American access to voting and easy voting, or this idea of restoration of voting rights if someone is completed, felony papers. These are things that to me are a cultural thing that I would say is easy to talk about from the standpoint of being an African American. However, I know for a fact that it is read as a democratic thing, which to me is sad, because to me it's like, this is just, can we vote? So I don't know. Like I wish there were more people here on this meeting to have this conversation, because I think it's something that I would love the commission to take up and seriously consider. Like for the legislative session, I will probably, the no-brainers. If they try to take up the Crown Act again, obviously I will join Crown Act efforts. If they try to take up issues of Black maternal health, obviously I will join efforts to pass bills dealing with Black maternal health. They take up issues concerning voting rights, obviously. I don't think that as the African American Affairs Executive Director, I don't think anyone would be like, why is she joining that? Why is she joining that discussion? Other discussions, I know in past, I know Trent, you asked, or Commissioner Davis, you asked about what did we talk about in the past. If there's anything that deals with veterans issues, because I know that, there are a couple of veterans on the commission who have raised, let's keep an eye on that. If there's anything that I can notice that deals with veterans issues, I will pay attention to that and advocate for veterans issues. Those are some of the things in the past legislatively, but again, everything that I was paying attention to last session was done by turnaround. So that, again, that's only 45 days. So this commission cannot be so focused on the legislative session, because there's just so much time that's not the legislative session.
Commissioner Davis, do you have something to say?
Yeah, thank you. At some point, far enough in advance that we'd all have time to plan, it would be nice to meet in person.
Part of the reason why I specifically had her come on the travel reimbursement.
Yeah, I mean, this is nice. Like, Lord knows I get inspired when I see all these faces, but there's something extra about meeting together. And you know, we've all got busy schedules, probably the reason why we're all sitting up here, because we're busy doing things. But um, uh, you know, pick a month with good weather and far enough in advance we could all make plans to be off that day, and just throwing it out as an idea.
Mr. Chair, I love that idea. Are there any other thoughts before I ask for a motion to adjourn? Any other thoughts from anyone? Yes,
Just some
Executive Director.
announcements that are also on the agenda, but I also wanted to make sure just to say it again out loud. And also part of the reason why I was like, okay, I need to make sure that Dawn comes in to talk about travel reimbursement, because there are two events that are like KAAC heavy events. That's the governor's annual Martin Luther King proclamation and march. That is on Thursday, January 16th. The time and date have not been nailed down completely yet, because it's, you know, the governor's schedule is a little it's not set. They schedule 30 days out. So we'll be getting there closely. And then the Black Legislative Day, which is Monday, February 17th. Again, those are two events where myself as the executive director, mainly because I'm the one who can do the best of getting all the logistics of the capital figured out. And Mark is the chair, been involved in planning a lot. And if any and all or whatever combination of commissioners would like to attend, again, not required, because I know for some of you that is a travel, but that's also part of the reason why I wanted to make sure that Dawn had come on to explain travel reimbursement. If you would like to attend either one of those events, I just wanted to let you know that they are coming. So that again is Thursday, January 16th. It'll be like 11 to 12:30 total. Actually, it'll be 11 to, if it's only gonna be 1 hour, if anything. And the Black Legislative Day is going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Mr. Chair, thank you for that reminder. Any other announcements before I call for a motion to adjourn? Awesome. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Davis, move to adjourn.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
This is Commissioner Westbrook, I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, either say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you all, and I hope you have a happy holiday season.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.